The Cymatics Origin plugin claims to make your tracks and clips sound like they were recorded on an old tape machine or on vintage gear. Now, this is a very cool free lo-fi plugin, but does it deliver on that vintage sound? Well, in this video, we're going to figure out what it sounds like and what it can add to your tracks. I'm Zane, welcome to Audio Tech TV, where it's my goal to help you conquer the tech so you can unleash your creative beast. Now, I've included a link down in the description to this very cool free lo-fi plugin in case you want to grab it for yourself. It's available on Mac and Windows. Now, let's give the Cymatics Origin a quick listen, then we'll go over some of the details and do some more listening in just a bit. All right, so here's what the clip sounds like without Origin on it. Just a basic 808 drum sound. Now let's add Origin on there, and this is the default setting. I haven't changed any of the settings. This is how it loads up. So that's pretty cool. It either sounds like old tape or maybe an old record, something like that. It is pretty cool. Let's play around with some of the settings and give it some more listens. So there's some of the presets right there, and as you can hear, it's not for every situation, but every now and then you might find a use for this, either just on a clip or on a section, and maybe sometimes on your entire project. Now let's have a look at the user interface. And as you can see, it's a very nice looking user interface, very well laid out, making it easy for you to adjust the dials and really dial in your own sound. And you can actually resize the user interface if you want. There's large, and we'll leave it at large for now for this video. And if you click here, you can access the presets. You can save your own presets and load different ones in there. Now let's look at the actual dials on this thing. So first you have your main resample frequency dial in the middle. And obviously this is the main part of your sound because this is the biggest dial, so they really wanted you to focus on this one. So what this dial does, it's a bit crusher or a resampler, and if you turn it all the way to the right like this, it's going to have the least amount of effect, so it's not really going to affect your clip at all. Turn it all the way to the left like that, and it's going to affect your sound quite a bit. So I'm just going to play the clip and I'll slowly go from here to here, and we'll hear how it sounds. And you did hear when it was all the way to the right, there was an effect on there. That's just because of some of these other settings that are set up. So let's just turn all of these down, and now we'll play it. Now, one thing that you might have noticed while we were moving this dial around is it introduces some artifacts into the sound. Now, they've added a way to get rid of this with these pre and post buttons down at the bottom here. So I'm just going to dial it back a bit, and we'll start with this disabled, and then we'll enable them. All right, so it does get rid of those artifacts, and it kind of makes it sound like you're underwater or something like that. It is a cool effect, and of course you dial it back a bit and it's not going to be as affected. And you'll also notice I was playing with this high pass filter right here, and this is set to 200 Hertz, so it takes off quite a bit of low end when you enable it. Now, if you want to roll off some of the low end, but not as much as 200 Hertz, and you still want to have this effect, then you could maybe put this on a parallel track and do some parallel processing with it, which could be really cool and add another great sound. So let's just check out this high pass filter quickly, and you can hear how that sounds. So you can hear it takes off quite a bit of low end. So you may want to play around with that a bit, but if you're just using it as like a little effect within your song, like in the middle or something, that could be a cool sound to go for right there. If you're enjoying this Cymatics Origin plugin video and you're getting some value out of it so far, please hit that thumbs up button. It really helps my channel out and I appreciate it so much. Now, let's get back into the Cymatics Origin plugin. All right, now let's look at some of these other controls here. We have the saturation knob, and this gives you that classic sound of driving vintage gear. So there's two modes for the saturation, and you can control that with this switch here. There's the tube mode, and then there's the drive mode. So let's just give this a listen, and we'll see what both of those modes do. So you can hear each one has its own little character, and it does add a nice subtle saturation to your tracks. Now let's look at the movement knob, which is right underneath it here. And the movement control emulates the pitch changes when audio gets played through an old tape machine. And again, there are two modes to this. There's random, and then there's the fixed wow and flutter setting. Now with the random setting, when you increase the movement, it randomly changes the pitch. And the more you increase it, the faster it will do that, and the more intense the effect becomes. So let's give this a listen now. So you can hear it's a very subtle effect, but it does add that sort of vintage character. Now we'll switch it over to the fixed wow and flutter. And this is similar to the sound found on old reel-to-reel machines. When you increase this, it increases the wow and flutter effect. So let's try that out now. Again, it's a subtle effect, but it does add to that vintage sound. So now let's have a look at our noise control right here. And if you click on this section of the noise right here, you can see you have various settings that you can choose from. So you have cassette settings, micro cassette, reel-to-reel, and vinyl settings. And there's a few options for each except for the micro cassette. So let's just set it to reel-to-reel 2. And you'll notice right here you have a switch. And what this does is it either places the noise before the resampler or after the resampler. So it gives a different sound on either side of it. And let's just have a listen to that so you can hear what it sounds like either way. So this is before. As you heard, it's different either side you have it on, so play around with that, see what works best for your particular track. And obviously when you increase the dial, it increases the amount of noise that gets added. Now let's just listen to some of the other noises that are in here. So I'm going to set it at the middle section here, so it's going to be quite noisy, and we'll get an idea of what each one sounds like. Now let's move on to the chorus section here. And this is based on the Juno 60 chorus that was found on old Juno synthesizers. And this little switch here switches between the two modes that were available on that old chorus that was on that synth. So obviously when you increase this, it increases the amount of chorus. Let's give it a try. And one thing that the manual says for this is to set the resample to midway, like we have it right here, and then just adjust the chorus and everything will make sense. And that's sort of what I just did there, but let's just try it again quickly to see what it means by everything's going to make sense. So it does give it a nice kind of vintage stereo sound when you adjust it this way. And overall, I think that the Cymatics Origin plugin does give you that sort of vintage sound that you might be looking for. And it gives you reel-to-reel, vinyl, cassette tape, and that sort of thing. Plus you have saturation, movement, and you can really take control of your sound with this and have a lot of fun by going with just a little bit, or you can take it to the extremes. Now, if you want to check out the Cymatics free reverb plugin, click the video on the screen right now, or click the one under it to see what YouTube recommends. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. For Audio Tech TV, I'm Zane. Keep creating, and we'll talk soon.